This video will discuss the Porter's analysis. The Porter analysis was created by a Harvard economics professor and has been a popular tool used when analyzing the external environment. Porter's 5 Forces is a powerful tool that a business can use to analyze its industry specifically. A company can take a look into how competitive the industry is as well as the profitability of the industry. When a company understands their industry, it can help them choose the appropriate strategy needed to remain a leader. The 5 factors include the power of rivalry, the power of suppliers, the power of buyers, the threat of substitution, and the threat of new entrants. Before discussing the Porter's 5 Force analysis for Kraft Heinz, it is important to note that we are viewing the industry as a whole and not looking at a specific strategic group. The first force of the Porter analysis is the power of rivalry. Rivalry plays a key role in the processed food industry. Kraft Heinz has many competitors that can be considered close rivals within the industry, which include Unilever, Nestle, and General Mills. The intensity of a rivalry increases when there are numerous, closely balanced competitors, there are high fixed costs, and strategic stakes are high. All 3 of these aspects are present within the industry, creating intense rivalries for Kraft Heinz. Kraft Heinz's largest competitors are making strategic moves towards healthier ingredients in their products, as well as better packaging. These companies offer products that could easily replace the products that Kraft Heinz currently offers. As well as having to compete with large companies, Kraft Heinz is now having to compete with the local mom-and-pop shops that offer products that are locally produced and are healthier for the consumer to eat. The rivalry in this industry is heavily saturated, and Kraft Heinz will need to select a strategy that will put them above their competitors in the eyes of the customer. An important key factor that Kraft Heinz will have to remember is that customer loyalty is disregarded if ingredients are seen as poor quality. Competitors are releasing highly innovative products that will help steal customers away from Kraft Heinz brands. The second force of the Porter analysis is the power of suppliers. Suppliers are the organizations that provide Kraft Heinz the products or services they need in order to manufacture their products. Kraft Heinz, in particular, has a set of principles and criteria that have to be met by the suppliers before they are able to even be considered as a supplier for the company. This can include whether the suppliers follow specific regulations and have certain ethical values. Kraft Heinz is a massive company that creates thousands of products. Because Kraft Heinz creates so many products, a supplier would heavily rely on the company for a majority of their sales. There's a lot of value held in their purchase. Suppliers can aid a company in terms of innovation and help play a key role in that aspect of product development. Together, Kraft Heinz and their suppliers can work together to create new products and anticipate consumer trends. Fortunately for Kraft Heinz, there are endless amounts of suppliers the company can use, so if one supplier does not fulfill their needs, they would be able to switch with a low cost to the company. A final note is that a trend among suppliers that Kraft Heinz should consider are that large companies are building close relations with their suppliers so that rather than having a short-term relationship, they can work together long-term. This will help keep costs low and build stability for the manufacturer. The next force we will be discussing is the power of buyers. Buyers in the food and beverage industry are demanding a vast number of products with a low price. Buyers include both retailers and the consumers themselves. As we discussed in our steeple analysis, online grocery retailers are becoming relevant to today's consumers. The biggest buyer that Kraft Heinz needs to be aware of is Amazon. Not only does Kraft Heinz need to sell their products through Amazon Prime Pantry, but they should also aim to get into Whole Foods. Whole Foods, which is also owned by Amazon, has been very popular among millennials who are shopping for healthier foods. Currently, Whole Foods would never allow products from Kraft Heinz to be in their stores. This means Kraft Heinz would have to alter their products to work with this retailer. The fourth force of the Porter analysis is the threat of substitution. The threat of substitutes increases when the substitute's price is lower and when the product quality is similar to an existing product. Unfortunately for Kraft Heinz, the condiment industry is growing both domestically and internationally. This means that there are more substitutes and buyers are less likely to buy from Kraft Heinz. This factor is also increased when the substitutes are locally produced and of high quality. Customer loyalty does exist with Kraft Heinz, as they do own some iconic brands, but because Kraft Heinz is not changing their products to fit customer needs, they are struggling to maintain that customer loyalty. For example, customers worldwide are trying to buy products that contain less sugar because they won't have to pay a sugar tax and it is healthier for them. Rather than buy a sugary drink from Kraft Heinz like Kool-Aid, they might move to a healthier alternative that is just as readily available to them. Another example that pushes customers to substitutes would be the need for all natural foods versus processed foods. Kraft Heinz does not carry products that are all natural, so once again, they are not serving the need of the customer. The fifth and final force of the Porter's analysis is the threat of new entrants. Companies constantly enter the food and beverage industry, but whether these companies will succeed is difficult to determine. The processed food industry is heavily saturated with competitors who have a lot of experience a new entrant would not have. This means that Kraft Heinz does have an advantage over a new entrant that is very similar to their company. There's also a large capital barrier when entering the processed food and beverage industry. Companies in this industry need expensive equipment to manufacture their products, which requires a lot of money up front. As well as a large capital requirement being a barrier, so are economies of scale. All of the top competitors in the industry utilize economies of scale while selling millions of units. This is another advantage that Kraft Heinz has on new entrants into the industry. The final barrier to new entrants are the heavy regulations placed on companies in this industry. Before a company can launch, they need to be aware of what these regulations are. Kraft Heinz has people working within their company who just work in this specific area, but a smaller and newer company would struggle to do this research themselves. This completes the Porter analysis for Kraft Heinz. If you have any questions, feel free to ask and we will answer them for you in class.